It's a deeply moving memorial service. I had the privilege in 2019 of visiting the memorial in Toronto also. But what I want to say here is that the families of the victims who continue after 40 years, normally one would have thought 40 years is a long time and the wounds will heal. But the grief remains. The fact that over 300 people, innocent people, their lives were snuffed out due to a terrorist action. A bomb was planted. And apart from the very moving speeches of the Taoiseach of Ireland, the Canadian minister, what I was very struck with was also the remarks made by the Canadian permanent representative to the United Nations, Honorary Bob Rae. He said that in 2005, he had been mandated by his government to prepare a report on the Kanishka bombing. And I think Prime Minister Stephen Harper was then in Canada. And the report that he produced, I think, resonates and is very relevant today. It said that this was an act of crime. It came from hate. It was a terrorist action. And that there is no justification for any action like this. And all I can tell you is, if that kind of terror activity is allowed to continue, and it is, today I mentioned that in 2024, there have been over 800 such deaths. So it does not matter where the terrorist action takes place, 9/11 in the US, 26/11 in India, or Pahalgam more recently. The act of terror is a crime against humanity, because a terrorist takes away the most fundamental right of all, the right to life. So a memorial like this, where very many people come together to mourn in grief and to recall, should send out a very powerful message to the global community that these kinds of acts of terror, no matter what the cause, you may have political differences, you may have ideological differences, you can disagree with each other, but that does not mean anyone has a right to take away the most fundamental right of all, the right to life.
Members of the families who are here, I deeply appreciate the chance to say a few words. Some of you may be asking, who is this strange man suddenly emerging from the shadows? I had the great honor to be asked by the Government of Canada to do a report on the bombing in 2005, and the title of that report was simply Lessons to be Learned. I can honestly say that no job that I've undertaken in public service has had a greater impact on me personally. I had the opportunity to meet with families across Canada, but also around the world, to learn more about what actually took place, to understand the significance that that terrible event 40 years ago has had, and to ask the Canadian people and the Canadian government to learn lessons from what has happened. And much of what we've heard today has reinforced that view and that reality. Let me just say a couple of things. First of all, what is the first lesson? The first lesson is that this crime was an act of hate. All terror begins with hatred. All terror begins with the terrible lie that it is justified to kill others in the name of a theory or in the name of an idea. It is never justified to commit violence of this kind. There is no justification. There never can be. There's no excuse. There's no context. There's no explaining it away. We have to gather together today, and in all of the memory that we're undergoing and experiencing, to agree that above all, we will do everything we can to deal with hate and with the terror that hate produces. I think the comments that have been made by all of the leaders who've spoken have reinforced one other lesson to be learned. And that is, we can actually do more. As a Canadian, I feel so strongly that this act of terror must be etched deeply into the texture of the history of our country. That we need to embrace its meaning and embrace its reality. Canadians need to be aware and know that what happened because people living in our country planned and plotted the placing of a bomb and the explosion of that bomb that meant that 331 people, because 2 died in Narita Airport, were killed as a result of that plan. It was not something that happened elsewhere. It was not something that was planned in another place. It was planned in our midst. And finally, the lesson that we can learn is to appreciate the strength of the love that we share for each other. The generosity and the welcome that the people of Ireland have shown to all of us over the last 40 years has been extraordinary. When you walk down this path, you don't feel hate, you feel love. And you feel a love that requires time and attention and care. And that's exactly what has been shown by the people of Ireland. We can all agree that whatever our politics might be, we can unite successfully against hatred and against terror and against violence. And we can, in fact, make a difference. But only if we embrace one other thing. And that one other thing is the truth. The truth of what happened. The importance of dissolving the lies, of fighting the propaganda, and accepting and embracing the truth of what took place. When we take these steps together, then we do something wonderful. Standing over there, looking at the rain starting to drift in and the weather suddenly getting cooler. It's a very Irish day, if I may say so. I then realized that the sun was coming and the blue sky was coming. And to me, this has been a symbol of what this day has been all about. And so we remember the words that are contained on this memorial, but the words that are contained on every memorial we have. We have 4 memorials in Canada. We have one here. Time flies, suns rise, and shadows fall. Let it pass. Love reigns over all. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.